In the aftermath of the death of Chicago police officer Crystal Rivera, the department is confirming now late yesterday the bullet came not from a suspect, but from her fellow officer. The confirmation adding another layer of tragedy to the department's mourning. Our Sarah Mackey hearing from Superintendent Larry Snelling today as he speaks publicly for the first time since that revelation.
CPD still has not released any information about that other officer's name, age, or time with the department, but Superintendent Snelling has given some insight into his situation.
At an outreach event to build bridges between Chicago police and area kids, there is no avoiding the trauma and tragedy of the past 48 hours.
That officer is in a very, very tough place. Unimaginable what that officer has to be feeling right now.
Superintendent Larry Snelling urging against a rush to judgment.
There may be things that an officer sees that no one else knows at the time.
Police said Friday night, Officer Crystal Rivera was unintentionally shot and killed by a fellow officer while chasing a suspect through an apartment building Thursday night, and after a second person pulled out a rifle. 36-year-old Rivera shot once in the back, a 4-year veteran of the department and a mother.
And we're trying to do the best job we can, but sometimes it's maybe not the best, right?
Dr. Carrie Steiner, former CPD officer and licensed clinical psychologist, tells us the brain works differently under extreme stress.
When you're faced with deadly force, your limbic system starts to go and you are just like more of an animal and you're just reacting to things. And you're not using the frontal lobe, which is what we're using right now. You're using the limbic system, which is basically fight, flight, freeze.
These situations are rare, but not unprecedented. 2 Chicago police officers were wounded in 2021 when another officer's gun discharged during a struggle with a suspect. Snelling says this investigation continues and will likely result in changes.
This is how we create training and anything else that we need to do around these situations.
Purple and black bunting hangs across the entrance of CPD headquarters. Still no more information about any funeral services for Officer Rivera. From CPD headquarters, Sarah Mackey, CBS News, Chicago.
Sarah, thanks. In this case, so far, no charges. 2 people were taken into custody Thursday night in relationship to the event. CPD and the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, or COPA, were investigating the shooting. Former police superintendent Gary McCarthy tells CBS News Chicago this investigation is likely to last longer than most because of so many complicating factors involving multiple officers.
At approximately 9:50 p.m., in the 8200 block of South Drexel, our officers, 6th District TAC Team, were attempting to make an investigatory stop of a subject they believed to be armed. At that time, the subject fled. The officers gave chase on foot, and the subject was pursued into an apartment. When the officers followed into that location, they were then confronted by a second person who was in that apartment who was armed with a rifle pointed at the officers. At some point, the officer discharged a weapon. Our officer was struck. She was then transported by assisting units to the hospital here, where she later succumbed to her wounds.
So let's hop right into this story, guys. But before we hop into the story, I have to give the condolences out to Crystal Rivera and her family. This type of stuff just shouldn't happen, especially when it comes to police here in Chicago. I'm not going to lie to you guys. That's a very incompetent move from the other police officer, who they're hiding the identity from us, by the way. Not sure why they're doing that. But if this other officer was black, I'm pretty sure that's why they didn't, disclose the information to the American people yet, because, Brandon Johnson just loves, looking out for black people. But I'm not trying to make it political or about race or anything like that. I don't really care if the officer was white, black, Hispanic. I really don't care. But it's very, very strange that the superintendent is hiding this other cop's identity, guys. So let's just hop right into the story. The suspect, I believe, who was on 82nd and Drexel here in Chicago, there was a call that they received, the police, and a person, I believe, was, causing a disturbance. And I believe when the cops showed up, the guy was waving a rifle, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if this was a guy or a girl. I just know that the suspect was waving a rifle, and the officer that we don't really know of right now basically fired off a shot. And instead of hitting, I don't really know why the person shot, because, you know, the suspect didn't shoot any rounds or anything like that. So I really don't know what type of police that was. But, you know, the bullet ended up hitting Crystal. And it's just a sad story, guys. I hate that this happens. I honestly hate that the crime is just so rapid out here in Chicago. Stuff like this wouldn't happen if Brandon Johnson did his damn job. And me personally, he doesn't give a rat's ass what happened to these police. He's not for police. He's not for the blue. He doesn't care about these people. This guy prioritized criminals over the police in Chicago. And this is why stuff like this happens. When you prioritize criminals, police die. We're talking about the people who protect the citizens here in Chicago. You have no brain. And now you want to sit up there with your stupid face with the superintendent, act like you guys care about police officers. You guys don't give a shit. You guys don't give an absolute shit what happens to these police officers out here. And I'm just going to be honest, guys. No charges is absolutely crazy. That's just bad training. You hear the superintendent Snail talking about, oh, we're gonna do better bro. What training? Like, you don't even need, like, that's just common sense to not shoot. First of all, you're not getting shot at, so I don't really see why you shot in the first place. Second of all, you know, I even think my daughter knows you are not supposed to shoot a gun unless it is clear. So I'm not understanding why you would do that. I mean, who gave you the permission to do that? Can cops shoot people without being shot at first? I don't know. But I've seen a lot of cases to where police feel like they're so endangered. Some people be on the floor like in handcuffs. You guys know I back the blue, but some of these cops do be wilding out here, clearly. So I don't really necessarily think that you have to shoot unless it's necessary. Now, if they were pointing the rifle at you, look, by all means, do what you got to do. But you have to make sure the area is clear of civilians and especially your partner, another police officer. That's your backup. I mean, you're not going to be competent enough to make sure the officer who's basically here to help you with the investigation, you're going to make sure they're not in out of the way before you shoot a gun. It's just stupid, guys. It's just absolutely stupid. Incompetence. And this is what happens when you defund the police in these liberal cities. Training gets worse. It's like, I don't know who trained that guy, but he needs to be in jail too. But like I said, guys, it seems like Brandon Johnson prioritized the criminals besides the police here in Chicago. He doesn't want to hold this other, police officer accountable. Look, there's no excuse for this. I don't know what they're going to come out and say, like, oh, she jumped in the way. I mean, even it's like the same thing with driving. Like, the walker or the pedestrian always has the right of way. So if you have a firearm, please make sure it's clear before you discharge your gun. That's what I'm saying. This is just incompetence, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, okay? Because I really don't know, like, what else to say besides just stop defunding the police and prioritize the police, the training, get the criminals off the streets, and we will be good. It's really that simple. But let me know, guys. If it's not that simple, let me know in the comments, okay? I'll see you next time. And I'm out of here, guys. Peace.